Most Christians struggle financially not because God hasn't provided, but because they don't know how to unlock the wealth He has already placed in their hands. Many believe that money and faith don't mix, yet the Bible is filled with financial wisdom that, when applied, leads to abundance. What if I told you that the wealthiest companies in the world, McDonald's, Microsoft, and Amazon, are unknowingly using divine principles to dominate the market? Meanwhile, many believers are stuck in financial lack, praying for miracles while ignoring the very instructions God has given for success. This is not about prosperity, gospel, or wishful thinking. The Bible contains a precise strategy for financial growth, one that has been overlooked by most Christians. God's plan for wealth is not based on luck, but on principles that guarantee results. Proverbs 10:22 says, "The blessing of the Lord makes one rich, and He adds no sorrow with it." So why do so many struggle? The answer is simple. They have not learned to apply the 4 biblical keys to financial success. Today, I will reveal the exact 4-step process that God designed for wealth creation. These are not just spiritual theories, they are practical strategies that will transform the way you manage money, build businesses, and create generational prosperity. The same principles that turn struggling individuals into millionaires and even billionaires are already written in Scripture. The only question is, are you ready to apply them? Because if you truly understand and apply these 4 biblical keys, financial struggles will no longer be your story. Let's begin. The financial crisis and the need for a new mindset. We live in a world where financial instability has become the new normal. Every year we hear about crises, inflation, unemployment, and economic collapses that leave millions in despair. But is the crisis itself really the problem? Or is it our inability to prepare for it? The Bible teaches that those who have understanding and wisdom not only survive difficulties, but thrive in them. Joseph in Egypt faced a devastating famine, yet his mindset transformed him into the most influential man of his time. Genesis 41:39, 41. The real issue is that many still operate under a mindset that keeps them enslaved to the world's economic system. They work, earn, spend, and go back to work, never building a solid financial foundation. However, God never intended for His people to be dependent on the unpredictable shifts of the economy. In Deuteronomy 28:12, He promises to open the heavens and bless the work of the hands of those who follow His principles. The difference between those who prosper and those who struggle lies in their mindset and their ability to manage the resources God has already provided. Breaking this cycle requires a renewal of understanding about money and wealth. Many believe prosperity is a matter of luck or a privilege reserved for a select few, but the Bible teaches that wealth is the result of obedience to specific principles. Proverbs 13:22 states, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children." This means wealth should be built with a long-term vision, not just to solve immediate problems. The question is, how can this be applied in real life? It all starts with a clear understanding that God has called us to be managers, not just consumers. What are you doing with the resources you already have? Are you preparing for tough times, or are you merely waiting for a miracle to happen? The first step toward true financial freedom begins with a commitment to learning and applying the principles God has established. And one of those principles is what we will explore next, the power of producing something of value. Be fruitful, produce something of value. From the very beginning of creation, God established a non-negotiable principle, productivity. When He told Adam and Eve to be fruitful, Genesis 1:28, He was not only referring to biological reproduction, but also to the ability to create, develop, and bring something new into the world. Poverty is not just a lack of money. It is the absence of production. Everything we need has already been placed within creation. God never gave Adam a chair, but He hid the furniture within the tree. He didn't hand over a finished pair of shoes, but placed the leather within the animals. The issue is not a lack of resources, but a lack of vision to extract wealth from what already exists. One of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting for prosperity to fall from the sky without taking action. The truth is that divine provision is always linked to work and creativity. The prophet Elisha demonstrated this to the indebted widow when he asked, "What do you have in your house?" 2 Kings 4:2. She thought she had nothing, but her small jar of oil was the starting point for her financial transformation. In the same way, each of us has something in our hands, a talent, a skill or knowledge that can be multiplied. The key to financial success is becoming a productive person. The world rewards those who solve problems and create solutions. People who only consume and do not produce will always depend on the system. However, those who understand the principle of fruitfulness learn how to generate value and become the answer to market needs. Want a practical example? Think about how great entrepreneurs started, by identifying a demand and creating a product or service that solved a real problem. So the question is, what are you creating? If your income comes only from a fixed salary, you are not yet living the full potential of fruitfulness. There is something that only you can offer the world, and it's time to discover it. But producing alone is not enough. The next step is learning how to multiply what you have created. Multiply. Turn a product into a system. Having a great idea or product is not enough. True wealth comes from multiplication. This is a principle deeply rooted in God's design. After commanding humanity to be fruitful, he gave the next step. Multiply, Genesis 1:28. This means that what you produce must not remain a single unit. It must be replicated, duplicated, and expanded. Many businesses fail not because they lack a good product, but because they don't know how to scale it. The secret of the most successful enterprises is not just creating something valuable, but developing a system that allows it to multiply beyond the creator's individual effort. Think about McDonald's. They didn't just make one good burger. They built a system that allows them to produce billions of burgers worldwide, all with the same quality and consistency. The same applies to major tech companies like Microsoft. Bill Gates didn't just invent software. He created a model that could be replicated across millions of computers. This is a principle that many Christians overlook, but it is a key part of wealth creation. If God has given you something valuable, your next responsibility is to find a way to multiply it. Many people stay trapped in the single producer mindset, exchanging time for money without thinking about scalability. But Jesus himself operated under the principle of multiplication. When he fed the 5,000, Matthew 14:13-21, he didn't create food from nothing. He took what was available and multiplied it. The lesson here is clear. Whatever is placed in God's hands and structured properly can be multiplied beyond imagination. What in your life can be multiplied? Is it a business idea, a skill, or a service? If your work depends solely on your personal effort, you are limiting your potential. The key to financial expansion is to move from working in your business to working on your business, creating systems that allow it to grow independently. But having a great product and multiplying it still isn't enough. The next step is to ensure proper distribution. Replenish. The importance of distribution. A great product that doesn't reach people is useless. This is why the next divine principle is to replenish. Genesis 1:28, which means to distribute. Many businesses and individuals struggle financially not because they lack a great idea or product, but because they fail in the area of distribution. You can have the best invention, the most powerful message, or the most valuable skill, but if you don't know how to get it into the hands of those who need it, it will never create impact or generate wealth. The world's most successful companies don't just create, they master the art of getting their products to people efficiently. Jesus understood the power of distribution. When he multiplied the loaves and fishes, he didn't just create excess food. He organized a system to ensure that it was distributed properly. Mark 6:39-42. Likewise, modern businesses thrive when they implement strong supply chains, logistics, and marketing strategies. Amazon, for example, is not just an online store. It is a global distribution machine. They ensure that products reach customers quickly and efficiently, and that is what makes them dominate the market. The challenge for many Christians is that they focus too much on creation and too little on distribution. Some people produce valuable knowledge, books, music, or services, but fail to market them effectively. Others develop businesses, but lack strategies to reach the right audience. Proverbs 11:26 says, "People curse the one who hoards grain, but they pray God's blessing on the one who is willing to sell it." Hoarding value, whether in knowledge, products, or finances, benefits no one. We are called to distribute wisely and strategically. So how can you improve your distribution? Whether through social media, partnerships, or innovative marketing, the key is to make sure your value reaches the people who need it. If God has given you something, it is not just for you, it is meant to bless others. But even distribution alone is not enough. To truly succeed, you must take it a step further and dominate the market. Subdue. Dominate the market with excellence. In God's divine blueprint for success, the final principle he gives is to subdue. Genesis 1:28. To subdue means to take control, establish authority, and dominate. The world's most successful companies do not just create products, multiply them, and distribute them. They ensure they become the dominant force in their industry. Likewise, believers are called to excel and lead in whatever field God has placed them in. However, many Christians hesitate when it comes to market domination, believing that being humble means staying small. But biblical humility is not about playing small, it is about stewarding God-given talents and resources effectively to bring transformation. Look at companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. They do not merely compete, they dominate. Their goal is not to share a portion of the market, but to set the standard for the entire industry. Bill Gates became the wealthiest man in the world because he understood this principle. His software was not just available, it was in almost every computer worldwide. When Microsoft became too powerful, even governments took notice. This is what market dominance looks like, being so impactful that the world cannot ignore you. In the Bible, Joseph exemplified this principle. He did not settle for just surviving in Egypt. He rose to a position where he controlled the nation's entire economy. Genesis 41:44. Daniel did the same in Babylon, becoming one of the highest-ranking officials under multiple kings. Daniel 6:3. These men didn't just participate in their environments, they mastered them. They understood that influence and leadership open doors for God's purposes to be fulfilled on a national and even global level. What would it look like for you to dominate in your field? Are you aiming to be the best? Or are you settling for mediocrity? Excellence should be the standard for every believer, whether in business, ministry, or any profession. Those who control the market set the rules, and if the righteous do not rise, others will take that place. True dominion is not a pursuit, it is the natural result of applying these principles. But to sustain it, you must master one final key: managing your God-given gifts for long-term impact. The final key: managing your gifts to impact generations. True success is not measured by how much wealth you accumulate in your lifetime, but by the legacy you leave behind. God's plan is never about short-term riches. It is about generational impact. Proverbs 13:22 states, "A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children." This means that the wealth, knowledge, and influence you build should extend beyond you. Yet many people fail not because they lack opportunities, but because they lack the ability to manage what God has given them. The key to sustaining success is stewardship. Look at biblical figures like Joseph, who managed Egypt's resources so well that he saved an entire nation from famine. Genesis 41:48-49. Or the parable of the talents, Matthew 25:14-30, where Jesus made it clear that God rewards those who multiply and manage their resources wisely. Financial success is not just about making money. It is about learning to manage, invest, and allocate it effectively. Many people pray for wealth, but God will not bless what is mismanaged. If you cannot handle $1,000 properly, why would He entrust you with $1 million? One of the biggest reasons why businesses and financial empires collapse is poor management. Studies show that over 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the second generation, and 90% by the third. Why? Because they lacked financial education, vision, and strategic planning. The Bible teaches that wisdom, not just income, is the foundation of sustainable wealth. Proverbs 24:3-4. This is why financial literacy, investment knowledge, and asset protection are crucial for long-term success. So how are you managing what God has already given you? Are you investing wisely? Are you teaching the next generation how to build and sustain wealth? Your calling is not just to make money, but to create a lasting impact. The greatest mistake believers can make is to separate faith from financial wisdom. God's principles are designed for success, but they require action. If you master the principles of production, multiplication, distribution, and dominion, you will not only build wealth, you will create a legacy that honors God for generations. Now that you have discovered the 4 biblical keys to building wealth, the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Many people hear wisdom but never take action, and that is exactly why they keep facing the same financial struggles year after year. The Bible is clear. Faith without works is dead. James 2:26. Knowing God's financial principles is not enough. You must put them into practice. Are you willing to take control of your finances, use your gifts, multiply your resources, and step into the wealth-building process that God has designed for you? Think about the wealthiest people in the world today. They are not necessarily more intelligent, more talented, or more deserving than you. The difference is that they have applied principles that lead to success. But here's the reality. God created these principles, and they belong to His people, so why are non-believers applying them while many Christians still struggle financially? It's time to reclaim what was meant for you. It's time to break free from the scarcity mindset and start walking in biblical abundance. Write in the comments, With divine principles, I will overcome. Watch how this powerful declaration will change your life, business, and finances. So, here's my challenge for you. Take one step today toward applying these principles. Start small. Identify what you can produce, work on multiplying it, find a way to distribute it, and think bigger about your market influence. Don't wait for another financial crisis to force you into action. Make the decision now to manage with wisdom and excellence what God has already placed in your hands. Because the moment you do, you will begin to see transformation not only in your finances, but in your entire life. If this message has given you new insight, consider supporting our ministry through the link in the description, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you can continue receiving biblical wisdom that can change your life. Now, tell me in the comments, what is the biggest financial lesson you learned from this? Let's grow together.